Good evening, folks. This is Greg Judy at Green Pastures Farm. I just moved the mob of cows onto a pasture that we grazed off earlier. And what I've been doing is rotating pastures back and forth. We got about, 5-6 inches of snow the other day covered up our grass. And so what we did is I just stopped grazing, and we've been rotating that far pasture down there. We just had the mob down there. And I've got a gate down there by that pond, and the water tank's behind that pond dam. Sits on a concrete pad, and that's where the mineral is too. Well, it's really it's been muddy, but we got some freeze in the ground. But what we're doing is rotating back and forth. So this morning, the cows were let in that field down there, and we already had hay unrolled for them on the snow. And then tonight, actually this morning, well, I had Alex and Casey helping me. We actually went ahead and unrolled hay up here. So we got all the feeding done in the morning while the ground was solid. And we had another batch of clean snow up here to put it on. And so tonight I was able to just come up here by myself and open the gate. And the cows did the rest of it. They just moved up here. But we unrolled 3 in the morning, 3 at night. And those are 1,200-pound net wrap bales. And I think there's 293 head in here. And, they're in good condition. I was looking at them. Some of the cows just almost wobble when they walk coming up here. Really packing some good flesh on them. But look what they're doing. People say, but Greg, they kind of wasted a little bit of this hay. Well, yeah, maybe if you want to call it waste, but, there's a patch of fescue that was under the snow they didn't get. But, it's going to grow me a whole lot more grass next year. Just, if you look at every manure pad in here is a $1 bill. And what it's going to do for me next year, there's a fresh one right there. And we're not tearing up our pastures. See, these lighter weight cows, get that cow weight down around 1,000 pounds. You can stay out here in the winter. You don't need a barn. You don't need a sacrifice lot. Just keep moving them. And all we're doing is just moving back and forth. So tonight, we put them in here. In the morning, we've already got hay. We're way back in here. This is the very back of our biggest farm. We're a mile from the road right here. But with that, and our bale unroller, we can pack them up. We're way over there. That's where the hay was stored at. We can bring it back in here, and we're going across pasture that, it's pretty soupy, but it's got a little freeze in it. Wouldn't dare bring a tractor in here. We just tear the heck out of our farm. And when you're on leased land, you don't want to be leaving ruts everywhere, tearing up your landowner's farm. You just don't want to do that. You got to remember, you are in the landscaping business. You want it to look pretty. Okay, you don't want big old nasty ruts all over. Look what we're doing. This is one of the tools that we use for landowners, showing them, say, look, when we lease a farm, we're not going in and mowing the hay off of it and taking nutrients off your farm and selling them to somebody. We're actually bringing nutrients in. So we have hay contractors. That's all they do all summer long. They don't even own a cow. They just bale hay. And we buy that hay and bring it in on these leased farms. And so we're actually offering the landowner more nutrients, growing more grass. And if the landowner's a deer hunter, we're going to be growing more clover and a lot more diversity and having bigger deer. Bigger racks. That's what it's all about. 4 of our landowners are deer hunters, and the typical deer hunter says, "Oh, you got to get the cows off the farm. You won't have any deer hunting." That's completely false. With good management, you're going to have some really high quality deer in there. And it's all goes back to this: the cow. Okay, we've got the hay out on the snow, and we lost about 3 inches of snow today due to the warmer weather. I think tomorrow's supposed to be up in the 40s. So if it keeps up and we don't get another cold snap, we'll probably be grazing here in a couple of days. But, when you got to feed hay, on snow is a great way to do it. I mean, it's just like a fresh dinner plate. Okay, they like it. Another thing about feeding on snow, if you got just solid snow, you got some younger calves out there, it's a great place for a young one to lay down on and stay warm through the night. And they don't have to worry about getting trampled. If you're using a bale ring, those calves will lay down right next to that bell ring, and you're going to find one dead where it got trampled in the mud because it got right up against that bell ring trying to stay warm, and the cows just fighting for hay trampled that young calf. You don't have that with this. You notice all the cows are all spread out? They go way up this hill, but you don't hear anything bawling. Everything's eating, even the little guys. So I love this. I love this method of feeding the livestock when the snow's on. Heck, even the dairy cow. There's one of Alex's jerseys. She's found her a clump of hay over there. Nobody's beating on her. She's getting something to eat tonight. And usually, if they're in the herd, it seems like the true beef cattle, they'll pick on a dairy. Or these two, I don't know why. They're not part of the herd, and the beef cattle know that. But you can see everything else is very calm. Just walking around eating, putting carbon on the ground, feeding the earthworms. And it's all on a new dinner plate. It is just a beautiful night. This is the life. Being able to go out and spend it with your cows in the evening. And all these cows, they're so darn tame. They're used to me. We don't have an animal in here that's stupid. They're just used to me. They know that Greg's not going to hurt them. And even if I was a stranger, we had a stranger here yesterday. He's like, these cows aren't even looking at me. I'm like, that's right. They shouldn't be. They need to be focused on eating, not worrying about us. This old grandma cow. Man, these calves are fat. So we don't wean. We haven't weaned now for 17 years. We make the cow wean the calf, especially the heifer calves. Now the bull calves are going to come out of here in March. And I'm going to talk a little bit more on another video about what we do with the bulls. But we don't wean the calves. We let the cows wean them. And some of your cows will not wean the calves. And those that don't wean the calves, we just get rid of them because they're going to get thin. But the cows that wean the calves are the ones that get to stay in the herd. And so in nature, there's nobody taking the whitetail deer fawn away from her and weaning it. She weans it. And so we've been doing that now, like I said, for a good while, 17 years. And if you leave the heifer calf in with her mother, first of all, what are you gonna do with these calves if you wean them in the fall? So let's just go through that just a minute. When you wean your calf in the fall, which is typically around 6 to 7 months, you take the calf off, and most people feed them grain for 4 to 6 weeks, let the cow dry up, and then they'll background them through the winter by feeding them some kind of energy supplement. Because if you take this calf right here, 958, by the way, he's a pretty nice bull. If you take that bull calf off in September and try and take him through the winter just on stockpiled forage and a little bit of hay, he's going to struggle. But you know what? Right now, he's getting just a cup full of milk from his mama, and that's his energy source to help digest all this roughage that he's getting. Because he doesn't have the rumen developed like this bigger cow here in front of us. I can back out here. So the older animals have a developed rumen, and they can just do fine. But a young calf, if you wean it in the fall, take it away from its mother, well, then it's got to have some kind of energy, and that's going to cost you. In our case, we can't do that because we don't feed anything grain. But these young calves just do 100 through the winter because they're just getting a cup full of milk. And another thing we watch for, so by March, you're going to have cows that sort themselves out, so to speak, because you've got a calf sucking on them. And what you do is you go through your cow herd and you look for the cows that have gotten thin. Okay? The cows that have gotten thin going through the winter, that's the cows that are giving a lot of milk. Tons of milk. And you don't want a beef cow that gives a lot of milk on grass, because that's the hardest thing there is to produce on grass, and those are high maintenance animals. Okay? So you sort those out. Get rid of the ones that are milking like crazy, because that cow is not going to breed back. So now you've got an open cow simply because she just gave too much milk. Now the calf's going to be big and fat and all that, but we don't care about that. We want the cow to be able to produce as a calf like that, maintain her condition without getting thin through the winter on forage and hay. These cattle get no grain, no energy licks, nothing. This is what they get. And so those kind of cows will make you some money. If you've got to feed your animals, especially your cows, some kind of grain to keep their weight condition on when the weather gets cold and the snow's flying, I'm sorry, but you just gave away all your profit. It all went to the feed salesman, and you need animals out here that can make it 100% on this. So the cows that had the great big old calf, and it's, you know, we call those a freak in nature, and there's this bigger than all of its herd mates. That's a big old calf. It's going to be high maintenance too. You ought to probably sell that to your neighbor, or butcher it if it's a steer or a bull, and you don't put those kind back in your herd. You want an average sized cow that'll just give just enough milk to keep that calf going, and by that time the calf is on forage, and you didn't have to feed it any energy all winter long. I mean, look at that calf. He's getting just a cup full of milk. That's all he's getting, but that's all he needs, just a cup full of milk. There's another nice young bull. Man, he's a good one. He's going to be a good one this coming year. But that's kind of what we look for. We're looking for animals that can do it solely on what I raise out here without having to buy them anything, okay? We do buy the hay, but, you know, we don't put any energy as far as purchased corn or any kind of grain supplements or stuff like that. So anyway, I'm going to sign off here. The cattle are having a great time tonight. So am I, walking through the cows and enjoying the animals on a beautiful winter evening here at the end of January.